The first fact about fear is that we have them. Let me give you the second fact about fears. Unfamiliar experiences are breeding grounds for new fears. Some of you, this is your first time to New Orleans. It's a wonderful city. I've had the opportunity to speak at this convention center on a number of times. I travel here on average 3 or 4 times. I was here 9 days ago to give another talk to a group right here in New Orleans. It's a wonderful city. Some people can't wait to get to this city. Others have imposed fears about this city because of things they've heard or seen. Unfamiliar experiences are breeding grounds for new fears. You can, in fact, where a void exists, knowledge being, or lack thereof, being a void, others can place information in there that will frighten you. You've heard information from this platform even this morning. Information about trends for the future, information about cremation, information about changing trends, information about commoditization in your industry. Should you be fearful of those things? I say no. Should you be aware of those things? I say absolutely yes. Because the familiarization, the information input, if you will, is in and of itself an opportunity to reduce the fears that can consume us and that can control us. Unfamiliar experiences are breeding grounds for new fears. But number 3, unsuccessful experiences compound our fears. You're going to go away from this conference. I've had the opportunity of looking at a number of the concurrent sessions and, of course, your other general session presenters that will be speaking with you and to you over the next few days. There's ample information. If you don't get something from this conference that you can use back home, it's simply because you're either not paying attention or you're not going to the sessions. But some of you, when you're sitting through the conference or through the concurrent sessions, or even this morning, some of you might be going, yeah, but. I remember back in 1977, we thought about doing that, but. I remember my dad suggested just before he handed the keys to the kingdom over to me, he said, don't ever change this, because this is what's kept us in business for 60 years. Well, it's not a common thought, or it's not an original thought on my part, but what got us here, with all the changes that we're experiencing in our life and our business and our economy, will not necessarily keep us here or get us there where we need to go. We've got to understand that just because we haven't been successful in certain changes or certain mindsets in the past does not mean that we should in fact be limited by creative imaginative thinking into the future. Now, your industry, forgive me for saying it, is probably the oldest profession. But the fact of the matter is, it continues to change. Even in my lifetime, not being one of you, not working in funeral services, I have seen it change. In March of 1967, while a 3rd grader at Caldwell County High School, or Caldwell County Elementary School, Princeton, Kentucky, I was taken out of class because my grandfather had died at home after a lingering illness. He died at home. Now, that doesn't happen much anymore in and of itself. He died with family members around, not hospice, not professionally trained healthcare professionals. He died at home, and I went home to his home with my parents. And I saw my grandfather still lying in the bed in which he died. My father had insisted that the local funeral director, none other than Mr. Dick Morgan, Morgan's Funeral Home, Princeton, Kentucky, that Mr. Morgan leave my grandfather till the grandkids were able to get there and see their grandfather for one last time. 2 days later, my grandfather was brought back from Morgan's Funeral Home, back to the home that he died in, and that's where he laid for the next 2 days until the funeral. He actually was kept at home. 1967. I've not been to another funeral or another visitation since then where the person was still at home. In other words, that changed. It changed for the better. It changed because professional service, at least from your perspective, because professional services now would require more of your time activity than maybe just having that person at home. Why should we be surprised that when things change for the better, they might also change on occasion for the worse? We've got to challenge ourselves to look into the future and to see an opportunity where others only see frustration. Of course, in preparation for this program, I've been trying to capture as much information as I possibly could over the last several months. And a few weeks ago, actually it was in July 26th, from the Paducah, Kentucky paper, I happened to get an article that was in the Paducah paper. It says, "Funerals go high-tech with online broadcasts." Say what? He goes on to say, in Hampstead, Maryland, grieving loved ones got to watch the entire funeral live over the internet without leaving their homes. Eline, forgive me if I said that wrong, Eline Funeral Home in Hampstead started offering real-time funeral broadcasts or webcasts to customers last month. Video slideshows at funerals and viewings have become common in recent years. So have online message boards where friends can offer condolences to the family of the deceased. But this was the first, at least they suggest this was the first time that a funeral could be viewed literally anywhere in the world and see it happening as it happened. Now, I don't know about you. Maybe you knew that. I'm sure you did. I didn't know it. But once it's introduced to some, others will find great value. As communities, whereas they used to live in small pods, now the members of those communities and families spread out all over the world, there's going to be services expected. They may not be able to jump on a plane in the Philippines and come home, or in America to go back to the Philippines. The opportunities are endless. Last Friday night, I was having pizza with my in-laws and my wife. We were together, and my father-in-law, Merlin Alsabrook, says to me, the question he asks me every time we're together, he says, "Okay, where are you going next and who are you talking to now?" He knows that I travel about 65% of my time talking to groups all over the world, and I said, "Well, I got a trip coming up next Monday to New Orleans, Louisiana. I'm talking to the National Funeral Directors Association." And he started laughing. He said, "Well, that sounds like a lively crew." How many of y'all have heard jokes like this before? And I said, "Well, no, from what I know about it, it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. Going to have about 1,500 in my presentation, etc." And he said, and we started talking about funerals. He, of course, being 77 years old, remembers funerals in a different way than I remember them, and we just sort of did a historical perspective up until where we are now. And then he said something to me that I thought was kind of interesting. I mentioned to him this article. I said, "You know, they're doing funerals online right now." He said, "You know what they need for speakers, don't you?" I said, "No, what do they know? What do they need?" He said, "You need to go to them and tell them that you would like to preach your own funeral. Because as a speaker, I'm sure you're going to get a minister or somebody that's going to be boring, and that'll kill you." And I step back and I go, you know what? That's not a bad idea. It's not a bad idea when you do pre-need, when you do advanced planning. Why not say, we have the opportunity for you to say a few words in the camera while you're still well and fit, and say things to your family and to your friends. So tell them what's important, and we will hold that information until the appropriate time. Now, hear me very carefully. I'm not saying you should do it. Hear me very carefully. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that if other people are thinking about your industry in a way that you yourself either haven't or won't, we got a problem.